Topic 3 for your Math 048 is frequency distributions and histograms. What you need to do before you do any work in the unit is to watch the video, frequency tables and histograms. You watch the video and then you download the student guide for Unit 3. Now, I'll say up front, you can actually do stuff using technology, i.e. using Excel, or you can use pencil and paper. Whatever you want to do the assignments. Sometimes one way is way easier than the other. And maybe even a hybrid of the two methods. I'm going to show you a way of sorting data easily using Excel. Now, before you actually could start using Excel for this unit, if you have like a computer at home that has Office installed, it has to be Microsoft Office, you need to download the analysis tool pack, or at least to enable it. You have to, it's in there, but you have to enable it. And so there are some instructions where you can do that. You might want to pause the screen and read this information, or just Google analysis tool pack for Excel. Now, once you've got that in there, what you're going to do is you're going to look at your downloaded notes for this unit, Unit 3 histograms. There's some student learning objectives. Essentially, what you're going to do is you're going to take some numbers and organize them so you have a picture. Sorry about my voice. I've had a cold, and I think this is the first time I'm getting my voice back. So basically, you take some numbers, you make them to a picture. First of all, we're going to learn how to make a frequency distribution, and there's some instructions in your notes online, and you can read that. Basically, in the video, you watch some silicon wafers being prepared for manufacture into integrated circuits, and they need to be a certain thickness for the process to be successful, and they do some measurements where they get some data. And so here's a collection of data. And that data then could be organized into a histogram, where each time there's, say, a unit, say the same wafer is produced, and it's between 0.4 and 0.45 millimeters thick, you put a little check. Maybe if one's between 0.35 and 0.4, you put a check. Oh, but wait a minute, the next one that's coming out of the machine is between 0.4 and 0.5, you put a check. You tally them up. So you get your tally, and then for each bin, which is the range that you're looking at, in this case, say between 0.4 and 0.45, you got 5, 6, 7, 8. So there were 8 of the wafers that were in that bin between 0.4 and 0.45. And you do that for all the bins. So now there's your frequency distribution. Now, you can create a histogram from frequency distribution. You can do it on paper, and you can also do it using software. I'm going to show you how to do it using software. If you do it using paper, you get a frequency distribution versus your bin. So frequency versus bin gives you a histogram, which is a picture of like how your data is fitting into the different categories. And then proportions and percents. Essentially what you do for proportions and percents is you say you want to find what's our total here. The total is 25, actually. This is out of 25. So say between 0.4 and 0.45 millimeters, there were 8 units that were in that range. So you go 8 over 25 times 100%, and that gives you a percentage, which was 32%. So 32% of the discs were between 0.4 and 0.45. You do that for each of the bins, and then you can make a graph, a bar graph of percentage versus bin number. I can do that on software. So some key terms, you can have different shapes of histograms. And again, it's your notes. This is like skewed to the left. This is skewed to the right. Yeah, symmetrical, pretty symmetrical. All right. So there's a summary of the video that you should do when you watch it, and then what we think you should be picking up from the summary is actually in the solutions to the notes. It's also mounted in Moodle. Now, the unit activity is, we're going to do this one, wafer thickness. So you've seen the video. The unit activity is really the same thing. We're making silicone wafers, and we're going to use the wafer thickness tool, which is found in the interactive tools menu to work with this. Let me bring that up. So in the Moodle course, there's the wafer thickness interactive tool. So interactive tools, it's in this menu. Oh, there's stem plots. Oh, here's wafer thickness. Well, let's launch the wafer thickness tool. All right. And so we got some information here. I'm going to use this tool. So first off, in our instructions, in our student guide, we're told use a sample size of 10 and sample data. All right, do it again. Let's try that. Collect sample data. Okay, so now we're building that up. I'll maximize it. So we got some machine that's measuring the thickness of all these wafers, blue wafers that were produced, basically glass. And as the information, as the data is collected, a histogram is assembled. Sorry, a histogram, which is like a frequency distribution plotted against the bin number. So these were thicknesses, and you can see that in this particular group, there's a gap. There were no wafers between 0.5 and 0.45, and there's not really much shape to this thing. What I'm going to do now, as per the student guide, is I'm going to go to jump to results mode. So that way the graphic doesn't show up, and it's just faster. So there's my potential histogram. I'm going to start over, and I'm going to click sample data. Whoa, look at that. That was pretty fast. Here's a column of a whole bunch of different sample wafer thicknesses. And there's the histogram, what it looks like. Okay, well, I'm going to do it again. Start over, click sample data. And different grouping this time. It looks different. Okay. Well, rather than start over, what I'm going to go collect sample data again. Well, there's another distribution. There's another histogram. And again, we're making these wafers, but they're not coming out perfect. I'm going to do it again, click sample data. Oh, look at that. This time, there were a whole bunch between 0.5 and 0.55. Well, now what I can do is I can see this menu, compare to previous two. Oh, look at that. And I've got 3 histograms that I can compare on the same sheet. And you can see that the more runs you have, the more sort of a spread you get. Like the first one was skewed to the left. Second one's pretty symmetrical. And the third one was skewed to the right. Well, maybe if we'd actually had all 75 together, it would be symmetrical, because the ones that are skewed to the left would balance off the ones skewed to the right, and the ones that are kind of symmetrical anyhow would just end up with a more symmetrical result. So, what your task is, for this, I do want you to do this exercise. Use a sample size of 50. Whatever it is in the notes, 45 or 50, and you change the parameters. So I'm going to go start over, and let's say we can control parameters. So I'm going to change this to 2. Okay. Oh, and click sample data. And then I'm going to change this to 1. So I'll change it to 3. And click sample data. Ooh, that didn't work. Click sample data. And we have to compare them manually. Sorry. Okay. I'm going to put that back to 1. I'm going to put this to 2. Select sample data. Compare to previous 2. Oh yeah, actually it still works. Look at that. So what you need to do is save these numbers. Now I'm going to make that 3. So I'll just go compare to previous. And you want to try to figure out what this thing does. Ideally, you want to actually have a symmetrical distribution where you're producing most of your wafers between 0.5 and 0.55, and that's your goal, is to try to get to there. So I'll go to the step one, select sample data. That's spreading it out. So you can go 1, 2, 3. You can have 3 1s. You can have a 1, a 2, and a 1. You could have a 1, a 3, and a 1. A lot of different possibilities. You play with it, see what you come up with. Something that might work, just as a hint. Mazda made a small 2-door hatchback in the 1980s, mid-80s through early 90s. And the model number of this small Mazda hatchback probably has something to do with the control parameters that you need to set up here. Just a hint. Right. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to capture some data from exercise 1 and put that in an Excel spreadsheet. Here's how I'm going to do this. I've got to be in a Word document. So if for whatever reason you have a PDF, you have to save it and then open it up into Word. It must be in a Word document so you can access the data. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to position my mouse cursor over first piece of data, the 12, do a left click, and highlight a column. Let go of the left mouse button, click the right mouse button, and select Copy. Now I'm going to go to Excel, and I would have opened up a blank workbook. In the very top left-hand corner, I'm going to click with the left mouse button, then click with the right mouse button, and go Paste. There it is. Paste. In the cell immediately below, I'm going to place my cursor. Then I'm going back to the Word document, select the next column with a right click. Select with a right click, and then with a right click, open up this menu where I can select Copy. Now I go to the Excel document, click in the Excel document, left click in the cell I want to place the stuff, then right click and push Paste. Click on the bottom cell and just repeat the process, going back to the Word document. Left click on the top of the column, highlight it, holding down the left button, letting go, clicking the right button, and then copying. And I'm going to keep doing that until I got all the data. And do that now. Right. So I have pasted all of my data into the Excel spreadsheet. There are 40 data entries. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to sort my data. So let's see, if I go to the Data tab, look at that. There's sort. So what I have to do, I'm going to put my cursor in the center of cell A1. Click and hold the left mouse button. I'm going to drag down to the bottom of the column. Let go. I push sort, and I get asked, well, how do I want to sort them? I want to sort them smallest to largest. Okay, so the data is all sorted. Now I need to create my bins. And here's how I'm going to do that. Sorry, pop bin. I'm actually going to call 0. What I've done is I have created bins, and what I've done, because I have to actually put numeric values for my bin numbers in. So I've chosen to do 0, 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. I'm going to edit that later. So here's what I need to do. I am going to be in the Data tab, and under the Data tab, if I scroll over to the right, there's Data Analysis. That's the data pack we added. So I'm going to choose Data Analysis Tools. And the data analysis tool that I'm going to use is the histogram tool. So I'm going to select that. So, okay, I've got to do a input range. So I'm going to choose, not that, I'm going to choose column A, the whole column, which I've sorted for my input range. I don't actually have to sort it to use the histogram tool, but I just did, just to show you how to do that. So if you want to actually do this work on paper, you can enter the numbers in, capture them into Excel, and then sort it, and that'll just make your life easier. So what I've done, I've created bins 0, 6, 12, 16. The thing is, with Excel, you have to have whole numbers for your bins, and you can't use certain characters like a minus sign. So I'm going to edit that afterwards. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go over, I'm in the Data tab, I'm going to go over to Data Analysis. That's what we enabled before, histogram. And my input range is, I'm going to select that. That's going to be everything in column 1. And my bin range is going to be everything in the bin. So if you remember, it says bin at the top there. So I'm going to start here, click in the center, scroll down, release. There's my bin range. The other thing I need to do is for my output options, I'm going to create a new worksheet. So it's a clean sheet in my workbook. And I'm going to also select chart output. So it makes the graph. Here we go. Well, there's the histogram. And I've got to do some editing now. So I'm going to make it a bit bigger. Oh, a bit larger. Hang on a second. Ooh, let's go sideways too. Yeah, that's pretty good. Actually, I'm going to make it a bit smaller. So I can fit it all in one pane. So my window isn't very big. All right. So now I got to do some work. Well, I can see. Actually, I'll pull it up a bit. Pull that up there. I can see in the new sheet. Here's like my bin ranges, and here's the frequencies. Well, I'm going to change these right now. So rather than 6, I'm going to make that 0 to 6. Now it changes. I couldn't have done that before. The program wouldn't have accepted that information. And I'm going to make that 6 to 12. And that's the other thing. I can't do 6, 12 because Excel interprets that as a date, June 12th. So what I got to do is I've got to go 0 to 6. Here I'm going to go 6 to 12, etc. So I'm going to pause, do that. Right, and now I've changed my bins. It's looking kind of crowded on the graph. Oh, also see where it says more? I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to click on that cell, A11. It's like playing that game Battleship. Under the A11, the word more appears up here. This is your formula bar. I'm going to click in there, highlight that, and push delete. Now that's gone. All right. So now I'm gonna, I gotta do some more work here. Well, let's first of all pretty this up. I'm gonna make it a bit bigger so that, okay, there's all our bin numbers. This is frequency. And on the bottom here, well, this is actually time in minutes. Time in 6-minute intervals. Okay, so I've done that. Now I should give the graph a title too, shouldn't I? What should we call it? Let's just call it length of phone calls in minutes. All right, so now what we were requested to do was to make a graph of using the same bin numbers, the percentage versus time interval. So I'll do that now. So in terms of percentage of phone calls within each bin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to organize my information like this. I'm going to have bin in 2 locations, and we'll watch this. I'm going to click in the center of cell A2, drag down, holding down the left mouse button. I was doing the dragging. Now I click the right mouse button, select copy, I'm going to come here, select the right mouse button, select paste. I'm going to come here and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select paste again. All right. So now the frequencies. Well, the frequencies were calculated by Excel for me when I created the histogram. So I'm going to use the left mouse button, click and hold the left mouse button, select that information, let go. Then I'm going to click in the center of cell F2, hold down the right mouse button, click it, and I'm going to paste. There. Okay, there's the frequency. Now the percentage. Percentage. I'm going to calculate that by taking the frequency and dividing it by the total. Now we're told that there were a total of 40 phone calls, and so for the first bin 0 to 6, well, there were 12 phone calls between 0 and 6 minutes, and so the fraction of phone calls that were less than 6 minutes is 12 divided by 40, and that would give me a decimal number. If I want to convert that decimal to a percentage, I multiply by 100. So here's how I'm going to enter the formula. I'm going to click in cell J2. And then I'm going to push equals. And because of order of operations, I'm going to use a left bracket. I'm going to come over to where the frequency is in cell F2. Click that. Then I'm going to use division symbol, which is a right and slash, a right slash. I'm going to divide by 40. I'm going to close the bracket. And then I'm going to put in an asterisk. I get that by going Shift 8 times 100. And I push Enter. Okay, so 30% of the data was less than 6 minutes. So 30% of the calls were less than 6 minutes. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy that formula down. So I click on that cell, the cell containing the number 30. And then in the bottom right-hand corner of that cell, there's a little dark dot. If I put my cursor on that, it gets to be a dark cross. So I'm going to click with my left mouse button and hold that down, drag that down to the bottom of cell J10, let go, and there's all the percentages. All right, so my next task is to graph that. First thing I'm going to do is highlight both of these columns to get my data. So I've captured the data, and I'm going to go to Insert on my main menu bar, And then I'm going to insert a graph. Well, if I come over here, it's going to be a column type graph, 2D column. Oh, look at that. It selected the graph for me. Now, you can also have it recommend a graph. This was a cluster bar graph, cluster column graph that is selected. And once again, if I'd gone to graph, I could have gone to recommended charts, and it would have recommended a cluster column. Okay, and that's what it would recommend. And that's what I got. That's actually also buried in this submenu here. There's a submenu down here, more column charts. You can find it. Okay, so I'm really done. What I need to do is make it look nice. So I want to give it like a legend. What am I going to do first? I'm going to move this other graph down. Click that. Hang on a second. I'm going to drag this down. My screen's not very big on this device that I have. I'm going to move this one over a bit to here, maybe. Let's see. Can I go over more of my screen? Sure, I can. And now, yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some stuff. So I'm going to add some axes titles. Oh, there we go. What I'm going to put down here. How about I put, instead of axis title, I put phone calls in 6-minute intervals. Number of phone calls, or phone calls. Time in 6-minute intervals. In 6-minute intervals. Okay. And on this axis, what am I going to put? I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to put number of calls. Okay, number of calls. And a chart title. Oh, I could put something like percentage of calls in different time intervals. Calls into 6-minute time intervals. There. Okay, so I have a descriptive title. I'm done. And that's how you do that in Excel.